That way. Now you're live.
We're live. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to tonight's network meeting. We are messing about. I'm going to say messing about because I can't say trialing or practicing. We're messing about some new software while we're doing this one tonight. So fingers crossed, everything's going to go to plan and not something strange. I'm looking over the screen here to just check the husband's face as I'm saying these words. Anyway, tonight I am delighted to welcome Keene Braganza, who is from KAZ Type. I've known KAZ Type for quite a few years now. We met at a conference in Nottingham, which was my local area, and he showed me his touch typing software, and we talked about how it had been approved by the BDA for dyslexic students to support them. But he's going to talk to us tonight about how we can use touch typing to support learners with SEND, and also to tell us a little bit about what else KAZ Type has been approved for. So I'm going to pass over to Keene. Just give us a second, Keene, while we work out where the microphone is. Done. There you go, Keene.
No problem. Wonderful. Am I there? Am I live? Firstly, I just want to say thank you very much for attending, and thank you very much to our sensible SENCO, who's very much one of my favorite SENCOs. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to showcase KAZ to everyone and to explain why touch typing is so important in terms of SEND. Well, just so that you're aware, the KAZ software has been available and supporting the SEND market for the past 20 odd years, very much sold into the DSA sector and the schools literally around the world. And coming back into why touch typing skills can help, we actually, as a company, have listened. We get a lot of feedback from SENCOs, from assessors, from teachers, and we have actually listened. We've taken the questions which you all have asked, the queries, and actually dropped it into the software. We want to make a software which is inclusive and really does make a difference to students in the classroom. So going back to why touch typing skills are so important. Well, as you all are aware, it can help the challenges which impact the writing process. And, you know, touch typing is so important because, as you can see from this little guide here, it's an essential life skill. It really does level the playing field for all students. It can massively increase their productivity, and obviously from a point of view of exam situations, it can actually be used in an exam environment. A lot of students with assistive technology are allowed the use of computers, and rather than just the one-line, two-line answers, they can actually give the answer correctly. What I'd really like you to understand and be aware of in terms of typing or touch typing, when students or individuals use sorry, I've actually gone on one screen too far. When students actually type with just two fingers or a few fingers, if they're either dictating or using a scribe or speaking whilst using speech recognition software, they're actually using their conscious mind. So in effect, they're thinking as they do. So once they've actually learned to touch type using all the digits, the actual skill is automatized and moves into the subconscious. So that leaves the conscious mind free to think and concentrate on just simple things such as planning, composing, processing, proofreading, and editing. And what it does is it increases productivity and workflow. So think of it like learning to drive a car. To start with, you're shifting the gears, you're looking in your wing mirrors, you're doing everything. But then within a very short period of time, you're actually driving and using the car while you're talking, while you're listening to the radio, etc., etc. It's just automatized. And that is the really important thing, what we're trying to do with touch typing. And it's not hard, because let's remember, we're only using a keyboard and it's just learning a keyboard. So if you can play the piano, touch typing just becomes very, very natural and easy thing to do. So what differences can impact the writing process? Well, we have dyslexia, ADHD, ASD, all these differences which you can actually see on the screen. And, you know, they all affect children in various ways. Now, the challenges they come across are, for example, slow work rate, visual disturbances, possibly poor working memory, cognitive limitations, and also difficulties with verbal and non-verbal communication. Another issue which we do come across is perfectionism, where students have poor and untidy handwriting and are very, very aware of that. So learning to touch type and the use of the computer can very much counter all of that. Now, why do so many people use KAZ? Why, there are so many different softwares out there to choose from. So, why learn to touch up with KAZ? What makes KAZ different? And how can KAZ actually help impact a student? So, yes, there are lots of softwares out there. KAZ, we've listened, we've taken into account what people are saying to us, and student safety is paramount. So, we are members of the ICO.org, and we adhere to all this rules and regulations. We're fully GDPR compliant, and we take that very, very seriously. Our courses, all of them, do not contain any distractions, pop-ups, and we do not solicit by email or any otherwise. So, for example, a lot of software out there will have advertising popping up all the time, which you as a teacher or SENCO will not have any control of. As I said, all our student data is protected, never shared, and we've got our privacy and data policy on our website for literally for everyone to view. We won't be compromised on that, and that's set in stone. All our courses, lastly, are secured via our secure link on our website. You can see the padlock symbol. So the challenges. So how does KAZ differ? Well, our course covers for visual disturbances via our specialized preference screen, cognitive limitations via the proven accelerated learning teaching method, which out of interest was passed and approved by the Open University, where there's a white paper on our website to showcase that. And we've just recently developed new challenge modules which cater for short-term working memory issues, which has just only been implemented in the course in the last 3 to 6 months. And obviously, difficulties with spelling. So again, recently integrated is an upload feature whereby teachers can actually upload spellings of the week and problematic words. So, if you've got various groups, say, for example, an SEN group or group 1 or a higher group, you can actually zone off spellings for each different group. So you tend to find with children with dyslexia where they're transposing letters or getting things the wrong way around. We want to train students to recognize words by sight. So when they see it, they actually type it. They don't actually have to think about it. The fingers have automatically moved there. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to show you on an actual course these various preferences. So I'm actually showcasing this on the desktop version. So I'll flip between the primary edition and the secondary edition as well. Now, you as a teacher would actually get both editions in your teacher's pack. I won't go into the admin panel and how to use that, but I'm always available. We do webinars, and be more than happy to showcase that for you. So basically, we worked with the Dyslexia Research Trust for about 2 years in upgrading and developing the software, and we really wanted to cater for children with visual disturbances. And it ranges from Mears-Erlin, where it's been diagnosed, to obviously undiagnosed. And, this has now become part of our mainstream course. We had feedback from some SENCOs and some teachers saying that they'd never realized that students hadn't been, were dyslexic or suffer from visual disturbances. So because of those first few comments, we actually started to integrate it into all the courses. And we've had such fantastic feedback that literally it's all our courses, from the schools to downloads to education to university to business, all open with this preference screen. It really has made a difference. So as I said, this was developed with the Dyslexia Research Trust. If you're not aware who they are, the Dyslexia Research Trust are the people who developed the yellow filter and the blue filter, which stabilizes letter movement. And literally all their research has gone into the KAZ software. So from everything from line spacing, letter sizes to everything, it's now been incorporated in. The default setting out of interest is set to 80% of users. So the majority of people, the whole idea is to be able to read this text in the box here. Should you be able to read that text, simply click begin course. But for the 10–15% of students who can't, literally all they need to do is go through the preference and correct it until they can. So we've got obviously the blue, which stabilizes letter movement, yellow, which minimizes blurring. These other colors simply minimize white screen glare. And recently, we've also got a no filter option, because some of the typefaces which have actually been licensed for the course actually work better on a white background. So it's just down to user preference. But what we have done is a lot of our older students actually do get diagnosed with Mears-Erlin. So we do have a customized feature which has now been built in. And on a Mac, I'm sorry, I'm demonstrating on a Mac, but on a PC, you can actually put in your RGB reference number. But on a Mac, simply go into the course and literally select your filter color. We've got a choice, an option of font colors. Sorry, you can change your font color for a good, strong contrast. And then we've got a selection of typefaces which can be selected. So each user will have a preferential typeface. It's set to Verdana as basis, which is what we all use. But we do have Lexia Readable and Open Dyslexic in there, which have been licensed for the course as well. We've only got two font sizes, a large and an even larger. Minimum face, I believe, is 21 point up to 24 point. And then we go one step further, because the course actually has an online keyboard at all times. So as you possibly know, a lot of dyslexic users will choose a keyboard which has got white letters on a black keyboard. So we obviously have black on white keys as well, but we've actually gone one further. So whatever filter color is chosen can actually be chosen to appear on the online keyboard. What I'm going to do is, I'll show you shortly. So once the user can read that information comfortably, all they do is click begin course, and all those preferences are filtered through to the course. If for any reason they're unhappy or they feel, oh, that's not quite right, all they do is click change preferences, come back here and reset. I'll keep it to default for the purposes of this demonstration. But, please, more than welcome to discuss that later if you'd like. We do sell the course into the US as well as obviously the UK, but your users should just pick up the UK keyboard. We've got a further accessibility screen here. And this is for, we've got a KAZ with sound option, which is the recommended. And we've incorporated into that a toggle button so you can switch off in case you get interrupted or in case you don't have headphones. We've got a text-only version for the hearing impaired, which is 100% complete. And we've also got an audio descriptive for the visually impaired. Now, the audio descriptive does include the speaking keys. So when you press your keys on the keyboard, it actually sounds out the letter which you've pressed. We are actually, just so that you're aware, in development with a bespoke VI edition, which we're working with the Thomas Pocklington Trust to develop. So that is something which we're proud to say we'll be looking at for a launch at some point next year. So if I just click KAZ with sound, and I'll promptly turn the sound off. Excuse me, stopping my emails coming in. But as you can see here, we've got, this is the standard user interface. So it's presented in a very, very simple fashion, just in 5 modules. And literally all we need to do is to tell our students to start at the top module and work through each in order. Now, they don't really take long. The Flying Start module, which is the first module, is literally really short. Each of these modules takes 2 to 3 minutes, but it's really important because it explains about the navigational tool. It explains about the shortcuts, for example, using the forward and backward arrow on your keyboard rather than using your mouse. And then there's also one module which is really, really important, and we actually integrated this at the request of City and Guilds. And it was, not sufficient enough to just teach typing skills. We also need to teach individuals how they should be sitting at the computer, how they should position this screen, and the height from the floor and the keyboard. And this has been really quite important. And again, it only just takes literally not even 2 minutes, but it's a module which once the user has gone through, then they really don't need to come back again. And if I then just come out of that section, so we then go into the basics. Now the basics it's the most important module, and that's where we teach the student how to touch type. Now our software is very different to other typing tutors out there in that we teach on phrases. Now the phrases, some of them are a little bit bizarre, but please bear in mind they've been scientifically structured. KAZ does have a motto which will teach you to touch type in 90 minutes, but that is designed for young adult learners who are probably 15, 16 plus, or have a real desire to actually learn quickly. The method was developed with huge investment from 3i, and it was then tried and tested by the Open University, and they were so impressed with it they actually deployed it to all 100,000 students for over 14 years. So so we've got the white paper on the website, and and the proof that it really does work. Now, the way the method works, as I mentioned earlier, is a method based on brain balance. So we're actually teaching both sides to work symmetrically and simultaneously. So if Mike Jive teaches the first 2 fingers and the thumbs of both hands at the same time, we then move on to the other phrases, which are progressions, and bring in other keys. So as you're all aware, we're very, very dexterous with our first 2 fingers and our thumbs, which is why we start with If Mike Jives. So if I quickly just go into the first module, so this is the navigational tool for the junior school edition. It's a slightly different for the secondary edition. But if you click on the beak, it repeats what's been said. Left obviously to go back, right to go forward, or to walk out of the course. So if I just move forward, this is the first phrase. The course is a narration, so literally the student just needs to listen to the narrator. Obviously a text box popped up there. That's because I've got the sound actually off at the moment. So basically this is the standard user interface, which is how the course actually appears throughout all the learning modules. As I mentioned, it is it's interactive. So excuse this popping up here. It always seems to do that when I've had the application open for a while, so please excuse that. So the course is laid out with 2 screens at the front, the typing area and the demo area. Literally all we need to do into the typing area is to type what's been said or spoken of, which is appearing in the demo area. The first few screens off If Mike Jived are interactive, so the narrator will explain to the student how to key that character in, and then the student will copy what the narrator has just said. As you can see, the typing window opens immediately, and this was done in consultation with assessors to cater for students with ADHD. Original KAZ, you needed to listen to the narrator first before this window would open. But the difference between kids of nowadays to kids of 20 years ago is they're born with literally with phones or computers in their hands, so they're very anxious to progress. But saying that, the audio still does play in the background. There is built in a key guide into this keyboard. So for example, if the student is unsure at any time which character to press, they literally tap on their keyboard and the hand will display which key they should press. Clicking back onto the keyboard will return them to the exact same position on the course where they left off. The user interface guide also contains the navigational tool at all times. You can progress through backwards or forwards to redo a particular module or section, and clicking on the beak will repeat that particular section. We have a question mark, which is a help menu bar, which explains at all times what is going on. Sound on and off to toggle between audio or text only. A progress bar at the bottom to show how far you are through this particular module, and also a slow-mo button. Now, originally KAZ was only delivered in slow mode option, whereby the user had to listen to the narrator speak. We've left that on there because a lot of SENCOs still use that feature for some of the really disadvantaged learners. So that has proven to be still a valuable asset. So we've left it on there. So as we progress through the course, you can notice we're building up this phrase here. Now, the important thing to make everyone realize is with KAZ, as opposed to other softwares, is you can actually learn through making mistakes. So, right, okay, so let me just move forward. So KAZ has been developed so that you can actually learn through making mistakes. Now, this is really important because from all perspectives, if you're continually wrapped on your knuckles, then it actually becomes quite disheartening. And the reason we were selected by initially by City and Guilds and more recently by Open Awards, they absolutely love the fact that all the learning modules are just that. You don't need to pass a badge, or you don't need to pass a certain word per minute to progress on to the next module. They literally are all learning. However, you know, what we're trying to do is with these learning modules is to build muscle movement in our fingers and to build dexterity. It's only in all the actual testing modules that we enforce muscle memory. So, you know, you have to key the right character before you will be allowed to progress on. So that is another factor which makes KAZ very, very different to a lot of the other products actually out there. So I'm going to come out of that. So basically each of these modules lasts literally 15 to 20 minutes. That's all it takes. Now, what we do is we encourage SENCOs and teachers to, you know, usually there's a time span which is allowed for within classrooms. So if each of these is 15 to 20 minutes, we give lesson plans. So we suggest break this down to the child's attention span, maybe one phrase per week with, you know, practice within the week on each module. So, or, you know, if the students, we tend to find that schools, the reason schools like it is because, you know, obviously children can progress through at different speeds. So we've just been taken on by a number of schools in Holland. And what they've noticed is that the children obviously are of varying abilities. So some will have literally were on baggy hat when others were still on, for example, just finishing If Mike Jived. So, you know, that is one good flexible aspect of KAZ. Children are allowed to progress. So as I mentioned, these learning modules are just that. However, in all the testing modules, one does need to type in exactly what is actually seen. What I'll do is I'll put the sound on. But I'm making a few mistakes on purpose, I'd like to say. And then once you've actually gone through that, the software will actually tell you at what point, you know, which characters you're having issues with or which fingers. And then you can either go back to the basics and practice on those particular phrases, or actually just carry on. So I'm just going to carry on, turn the sound off again. And I'll move on to the just do it. So theoretically now the students have actually learned finger position, and they're starting to build muscle memory with with the fingers. So the fingers are starting to gradually get moving. Now, the important thing is to enhance that, to continue that, to develop and really get that muscle memory figured in, so that it just doesn't leave them. What we want to do now is we want to automatize it. We want students to start recognizing words by sight, and it's at that point where touch typing really does come into its own. So the Just Do It module. No, sorry, this is where I'm going to flip, if you don't mind. So I'm going to flip to the adult edition, which, just so you're aware, it's the only desktop version which we've updated. The others are all due to be updated shortly. So if we go into the Just Do It module, we've developed a new challenge module. So this has really been proven to be a huge hit I'll be honest with you, with our SENCOs, because obviously they're more responsible in the schools for our software. And what we've done is, for the course now, and this is live through all our online courses, we have the ability to actually add vocabulary. We've also licensed text-to-speech software. So all the vocabulary which is actually added into the course is now spoken back to the student. So if I go into the challenge module, challenge 1 focuses on the keys used in the first 2 phrases, challenge 2, the third and the fourth phrases, and challenge 3 on the final phrase. As I mentioned earlier, if you have an online course, you can add vocabulary specific to that to each group, and a 4th challenge module will actually appear for those students. Now, the reason that this has proven so popular is because we were actually asked by assessors about 3 years ago for students with short working memory. So, something which they would have learned 2 weeks ago, they've forgotten this week. Now, these challenge modules have been developed so they can almost supersede the touch typing, the basics module. But obviously we advise to do the basics and then come through to the challenge module. And each challenge, as I said, we just give a quick little run through, sitting correctly with your fingers on the home keys. So I've got the sound off at the moment. So each word is presented 3 times. The narrator will actually speak the word first, and then the student will actually type the word, and they'll be doing that 3 times. So it's a selection from a vocabulary data bank of about 500 words. And obviously what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the student to recognize those words by sight and to get them touch typing. Now, there is a timer on there, so it's been set to encourage but not discourage. But in your admin back office, you can actually change that timer, so you can increase it or decrease it however you feel in terms of the group you're using. We have the ability to hide the keyboard, online keyboard, so that the students are just literally looking up at the screen, only at the screen. And obviously we can flip between challenge 1, 2, 3 using the navigation tool. Out of interest, this is the navigation tool used on the secondary school edition, which is what I'm showcasing here. And obviously if there was a challenge 4th module, then it would actually show up here as well. So that is something which has been really important from a development point of view, which has really lifted our whole the whole light of the KAZ course to the schools network. And the rest teaches the shift, numbers and punctuation keys. And lastly, Speed Builder. This is really quite important. This is where we build speed and accuracy, because obviously in all the other modules, they're pretty much the learning modules. So, we don't want to dishearten, we want to encourage, but it's at these points that if I start to type now, as you can see, it's not moving forward because I haven't keyed in the right letter. So this is how we actually enforce muscle memory. And it's only with practice that the student will develop automaticity. Series of 20 phrases, And that's really important because that's what's deemed sufficient, not too much, because obviously we don't want the students to get tired with their hands, but enough to actually build muscle memory. So we recommend them using the speed builder section really on a daily basis. All the results from the speed builder section are put in the my results section, which also then goes into teachers admin panel so they can see exact progress of how their students are doing. Full user guides are given for all students, but the course is very basic. There's a huge amount of technology and research which has gone into this, but the important thing for KAZ is for it to be displayed in a very simple manner. So in effect, that's KAZ. That's the touch typing course. I won't go into all the back office and the admin panels. That I'd be more than happy to do for you on a one-to-one basis or on a group basis. Really not an issue. But something which I'm really proud to say on today's talk with Abigail. Abigail has known about this for a while. We've been pushing for getting touch typing qualifications on a national basis for several years. There has never really been a national touch typing qualification. We were approached by Open Awards, I think it was just over 2 years ago, and it's taken an awful long time to get there, but we actually finally did. It's only been launched this week, and you all are the first to know about it from us. Obviously, we post it on our social media channels, but this is the first presentation where I've actually mentioned it. We're really immensely proud of it, and we've agreed with Open Awards because we partnered with them. We're conducting all the examinations and testing through our servers, which are obviously here in the UK. They're really happy with it and have confidence in the robustness of the system, our GDPR, etc. So we're really over the moon about this, and really why this is so important is one, there's no age limit on this. Two, teachers can take this assessment within their own testing sessions within their schools. All they have to do is sign a declaration and confirm that it'll be done to normal testing conditions. And the important thing is all students will actually get a qualification which will add to their education record. And this is something which was developed with SEN students in mind. We're completely aware. Sherilyn, who is a director of the company, she used to work an awful lot with children in the community, and achievement is something which is very difficult for some of these students, and we develop these these qualifications so that they can achieve them. Every student gets 3 attempts, and it has been designed so that we give all the notes, we give all the training, and when the teacher is ready, they can decide whether the student goes on to a level 1 or 2. Level 1 is an entry level with a touch typing of 25 words per minute. And there's obviously a bank of questions, 16, which the pass rate is 50%. And we're talking, questions such as where are the home keys, which finger would press a certain character, information which has gone through within the revision notes. And level 2 has a pass rate of 35 words per minute, which is obviously more advanced. And why 35 words per minute? Because 35 words per minute is the tipping point where you're using literally all your fingers and thumbs. Level 1 only covers certain aspects of the keyboard, obviously all the A to Z, capitals, full stops, etc. But level 2 covers the full keyboard, including punctuation as well. So that is something which we're really proud of. We've got a few offers on at the moment with that. So if that interests you, please just do email us. Obviously, I'm not Sherilyn, I'm Keene, but if you can take Sherilyn's email address, and this whole webinar is CPD accredited as well. So if you do want a CPD certificate for it, please just drop Sherilyn an email, and she'll let you have that. Obviously, we do free trials for schools. So just click onto the education section of our website should you wish to do that. If you'd like a personal one-to-one on more aspects of KAZ, please reach out to us. We find literally it's crazy. 95% of the teachers who request a demo actually go on to purchase the KAZ because they can actually see the benefits it'll make to their students. You know, we need you to understand how KAZ works and how to integrate KAZ within your environment. But Abigail, that's me done in terms of presenting the course and the software. So if we can turn back to you and turn back to any questions, I'm free.
We're doing that.
I think I'm unmuted again. Fantastic. Keene, I really enjoyed watching that. And I think that qualification is amazing because it means you've got something to give those students who perhaps aren't taking their full suite of GCSEs, and we need to give them something to sit alongside it. It gives them something. It means they can leave school with something that's valuable and useful and can take them into the future. Gavin typed, do we think that touch typing can help SEND pupils? And we were hoping somebody was going to reply to it. I replied to him and said, I think it's useful for SENCOs. I think SENCOs need to have a touch typing course so we can type our reports much faster. Sally is just typing, so I'm going to wait a second to see what question she comes up with. He has switched camera, I think. So Sally said, do you think this is suitable for primary SEND pupils? So Keene, do you want to answer that? What age group?
Yeah, sure. Right. Well, we tend to start, we don't actually envisage learning to touch type. Oh, sorry, I'll just turn off my screen share. We don't actually envisage learning for children under 6 or 7. I mean, we've got a lot of Montessori schools in the US, especially using KAZ. We actually feel that actually is possibly a little bit too young. But, you know, because children are still developing, their hands are still developing, they can't, you know, reach the full extent of the keys. So we actually see that the perfect age being probably 7 to 10, maybe towards the latter end. And the way the KAZ course was presented to schools, we actually gave 2 versions, a junior and a secondary. And what we tended to find was the junior version was too babyish and the kids felt it was too childish with the junior KAZ bird. So we actually dropped that. So we now made the junior KAZ, the adult KAZ bird, and we've actually dropped in the adult edition for the secondary edition so that it becomes a little bit more, you know, because children don't like to people to think that they're too young in what they've been presented with. So, but yeah, I would say, you know, we've got probably a 25%, 30% split of all the schools which use KAZ are for primary school.
There you go, Sally.
I hope that helped.
Yeah, so when I first met you, our third son was 9, I think, and you gave me a program to play with, to work with, and we got him on it. He does still remember some of them, to be fair. We haven't practiced recently, but he's doing quite good. So Katie said, do students need to be supervised whilst doing it, or is it something they can do independently?
Right, fantastic question, Katie. Katie, the whole course has been designed to be used independently. So, for example, we've got hundreds and hundreds of schools using KAZ, and literally, because it's all online, they can work at home or at school. The only place they might potentially need a bit of help is with the preference screen to actually get the screen to their right to suit their visibility, or for their own visual preferences. But to be honest with you, kids are they're just fantastic, aren't they? They've got no fear. You know, we're scared to press a button because we're scared we're going to break the keyboard or the computer, whereas kids will just try. And what you got to remember is the KAZ program can't be broken. Well, I'm sure kids are always finding fantastic things to do, but generally, no. Just tell them to start at the top and to work through each module in order, and that's sufficient. What we've done now with the challenge module, it's really, we don't believe in gaming because, you know, gaming can be very distracting and prolong the learning, and it doesn't actually register sometimes with that automaticity, which is why we don't actually promote gaming. But the challenge module, what that does is, because they see the word, they hear the word, and then they type the word, they're actually understanding what they're doing. So, and they start to recognize words which are popping up from them in the screen. And now what the SENCOs have come, or, you know, let me not say only SENCOs, because it's teachers as well, have come back on the new Challenge 4 module where they can import their own vocabulary. And that's been an absolute resounding success, because, you know, they can drop in their spellings of the week, etc., etc. And we've been really enthused by the response we've had. So, you know, the fact that we're getting the response is fantastic. But what we do impress on all our teachers is, please give us feedback, because, you know, we want to produce a course which helps everyone in the classroom and really works. And we can only do that when we get feedback. And you know, unlike many other people, we do listen, or we try.
No, you definitely listen. You listened when I said something, so thank you for that. And I would say, yes, they can do it independently, but you have to know the child. So our son who was doing it, yes, he was fine with it independently. I know that if I had given it to some of my SEN students, I may have been better off supervising them doing it, certainly in the first few stages. And my students with dyspraxia, I would have been well placed to kind of just check that their fingers are in the right place, because although that image is on the screen to tell them where to put their fingers, it's that case of just double checking it for them and reassuring before letting them do it. But it's knowing your students. Sally said, thank you. We know
out of interest, Abigail, I was just going to say, Abigail, out of interest, after you actually made mention of that comment, I think it was now 2 years ago, what we've done, because that is something which was echoed by other people. So what we've done since then is, before the start of every module, there's a narrator will just quickly brief, are you sitting in the right position with your fingers on the home keys? I think you may have seen that briefly. And really that's come across through a comment which was made inadvertently, which was really taken on board, because it absolutely made sense. Yeah. So thank you for that.
No, you're very welcome. Sally says, thank you. We know some of the children will need to be able to able to type for secondary, and it's getting the balance right between working on fine motor handwriting and introducing them to typing. This is where I kind of have to sit slightly on the fence, because the group know that I've just written a teacher's pack on dysgraphia, and it's all to do with fine motor skills and handwriting. But in there, I do talk about the fact that, you know, we're still going to have to do a little bit of handwriting in our lives. I picked a pen up a minute ago because my screen had got lots of things on it and I couldn't type. But most of our children, we live in a digital world. They're going to be typing. So yes, you're right. It is that balance of the two of them. But if they're developing their fine motor skills with their fingers doing this, that actually helps to strengthen their fingers. And when they go to pick the pen up, they've actually got a bit more strength in there to support that handwriting as well. So I don't see the two things as being separate. I see the two as complementing each other. Keene?
No, you're 100% right, Abigail. And out of interest, when we launched the product, we actually launched it in Malaysia a few years ago. And amazingly, in Singapore, they don't teach children how to write anymore. I think that's quite bizarre. I mean, you know, they actually put them straight onto a keyboard. And I mean, it's incredible, isn't it?
I can't imagine
Maybe that's
that.
why the English system is the best.
I really can't imagine that one, but okay, fair enough. Anybody else got any questions for Keene? Go on, you've got your chance to ask him now.
Out of interest, something else which would be quite important to let everyone know is that we actually have a touch typing competition. Ooh. Now, the importance of this cannot be understated or overstated, because what the competition does is really get the competitive edge of the student into learning how to touch type. So we do encourage all our teachers to enter their students. It's a one-touch entry, so it's very, very easy, but you know, we need them to be happy to do it. And it's free, you know, and they could win a free license for the next year. But the important thing is, it really does encourage students to learn the skill.
Absolutely. Now, everybody, no, it's fine. Everybody will know that when somebody asks in the group, can you recommend a touch typing program? And we get the usual answers, and my answer is always KAZ Type. And I just want to explain why, because KAZ Type is a paid product, and a lot of the ones that get responded with are free products. But there is a massive difference between the two of them. And I'm one of those people who believes you get what you pay for. And I think, yes, KAZ, you do have to pay for it, but actually you're getting far more than you get from those free products that are out there, because you've got the support of a team that know what they're doing, that they've done their research behind it. You've got that adaptability. They take on board what you're asking them to do. You've now got a qualification that sits alongside it, which you're not going to get with whatever it's called, BBC Dance Mat, other than, printing off a certificate at the end. You're not going to get that from them. And they're not going to respond to your feedback and, where you say, oh, can you help us with this? They're not going to do that. Whereas a company like KAZ will do that. So that is why I will always support generally a paid for product than a free product a lot of the time, because I like I say, I believe that you get what you pay for. And in this case, you've got something that is helping students to develop a lifelong skill, because it is important. Like I say, we're in a digital world and we're all moving on, and the majority of the jobs in the next 20 years time are not going to be manual labour or using a pen. They're going to be sat in front of a computer screen typing. That's where we are. So P. Robinson, I'm not sure what the first name is, says, do we need one licence per child?
Right. So the way the licensing works is you can buy a single license, or you can buy, they're usually in bands, so 10 students, 25 students, or 50 students. And the way the system works is, you'll buy an annual license, and we would recommend you keeping that license with the child for the year. And what that does is it allows them to progress at their own pace, come back to it, and dip in and out. Now, the way the way we price the course is we'd like to think it's inexpensive to other products in the market. We need to keep it cost effective, and all the research which we do gets reinvested. So, for example, the SEN edition, which was developed 3 years ago, it's actually free within the mainstream, within the package price which you purchase. All the other editions which will be coming, the VI edition, etc., again, all those will be free within the mainstream edition. So the important thing to realize is that every single purchase of the course funds future editions. So a single use license is £24.95. A schools edition, I think it's 5 user license is £75. It's all on the website, so please just have a look. And we do hope you feel that the price is inexpensive. That's how it's been designed.
I think it's inexpensive for what it is. And Gavin wants to know how you've all found the new setup that he's used tonight with the funny flashy screens. And thank you to Keene for being our guinea pig in actually trialling this out and bearing with us.